Robert Jackson. On April 1st, 1942, a room of prosecutors. He was an FDR Democrat. He had been U.S. Solicitor, the Solicitor General of the United States. He became Attorney General, and then later he was an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. In 1945, he took a leave from the court, be the chief American prosecutor at the Nuremberg trials. This is what he said, and it's very, very important. It's incredibly prescient. He said to the room of prosecutors, it would probably be within the range of that exaggeration permitted in Washington to say that assembled in this room of prosecutors, one of the most powerful peacetime forces known to our country. The prosecutor has more control over life, liberty, and the reputation than any other person in America. His discretion is tremendous. He can have citizens investigated, and if he's that kind of person, he can have this done to the tune of public statements and veiled or unveiled intimations. Or the prosecutor may choose a more subtle course and simply have a citizen's friends interviewed. Prosecutor can order arrests, present cases to a grand jury in secret session, and on the basis of his one-sided presentation of the facts can cause the citizen to be indicted and held for trial. He may dismiss the case before trial, in which case the defense never has a chance to be heard. This all sound familiar to you? Or he may go on with a public trial. If he obtains a conviction, the prosecutor can still make recommendations as to the sentence, as to whether the prisoner should get probation or a suspended sentence, and after he's put away, as to whether he is a fit subject for parole. Again, what does this sound like to you? Well, the prosecutor at his best is one of the most beneficent forces in our society. When he acts from malice or other base motives, he's one of the worst. Does that sound like Jack Smith to you and Alvin Bragg to you? If the prosecutor is obliged to choose his cases, it follows that he can choose his defendants. Therein is the most dangerous power of the prosecutor, that he will pick people that he thinks should get, rather than pick cases that need to be prosecuted. With the law books filled with a great assortment of crimes, a prosecutor stands a fair chance of finding at least a technical violation, or the 1871 Ku Klux Klan Act, as an example, of some act on the part of almost anyone. In such a case, it's not a question of discovering the commission of a crime and then looking for the man who has committed it. It's a question of picking the man and then searching the law books or putting investigators to work to pin some offense on him. It is in this realm to which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons, and then looks for an offense that the greatest danger of abuse of prosecuting power lies. It is here that the law enforcement becomes personal, and the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group. Again, sound familiar? Being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself. In times of fear or hysteria, political, racial, religious, social, and economic groups, often from the best of motives, cry for the scalps of individuals or groups because they do not like their views. Particularly do we need to be dispassionate and courageous in those cases which deal with so-called subversive activities. They are dangerous to civil liberty because the prosecutor has no definite standards to determine what constitutes a subversive activity, such as we have for murder or larceny. He goes on. Those who are in office are apt to regard as subversive the activities of any of those who would bring about a change of administration. Some of our soundest constitutional doctrines were once punished as subversive. We must not forget that it was not so long ago that both the term Republican and the term Democrat were epithets with sinister meaning to denote persons of radical tendencies that were subversive of the order of things then dominant. And he closes like this. The qualities of a good prosecutor are as elusive and as impossible to define as those which mark a gentleman. And those who need to be told would not understand it anyway. A sensitiveness to fair play and sportsmanship is perhaps the best protection against the abuse of power. The citizen's safety lies in the prosecutor who tempers zeal with human kindness, who seeks truth and not victims, who serves the law and not factional purposes and who approaches his task with humility, the late Justice Robert Jackson.